Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Life ain't always a straight road. It's not some clean, cut highway where everything makes sense. No, life's got bumps, life's got bruises. It's got setbacks so deep they echo inside your bones. You ever been so low you couldn't even see the sky? Felt like the weight on your shoulders could bend steel? Like your prayers are hitting a ceiling so thick, even God must have turned the other way. Yeah. I know that feeling. I know that silence. I know that darkness. I know that moment when everything in you says quit, lie down, give up. But something small, something quiet, something still, whispers, get up, not yet. See, the world loves a winner. The lights, the cameras, the applause, they show up when you're on top. But where was everybody when you were crawling? Where was the crowd when you were bleeding? Where were the cheers when you were broke, busted, and alone? Don't you ever forget, it's not the wins that shape you, it's not the celebrations that define you, it's the struggle, the fall, the climb back up. It's the moments when you thought you had nothing left, but you reached a little deeper and found something. See, pressure. Pressure builds diamonds, heat forges steel, but a comeback forges legends. You see, we live in a time where people want things easy. They want shortcuts, cheat codes, hacks. Everybody wants to rise, but nobody wants to wrestle. They want the crown, but they don't want to carry the cross. But let me tell you, there is no glory without the grind. There is no victory without the valley, the comeback, the real comeback, that don't start in the spotlight. No, it starts in the silence. It starts when nobody's watching, when nobody's clapping. It starts in the weight room, in the late nights, in the early mornings. It starts in prayer. It starts in discipline. It starts in failure. Yeah, I said failure. Failure ain't your enemy. Failure's your teacher. It's the fire that shows you where the cracks are, and if you run from failure, you run from growth. You run from becoming who you were meant to be. Let me ask you, how bad do you want it? I'm not talking about a wish. I'm not talking about a New Year's resolution. I'm talking about a decision. A deep, soul-level decision to rise, to come back stronger, because I'll tell you what, adversity will test you. It's gonna knock on your door, and it won't leave until it finds out what you're made of. You're gonna fold, you're gonna run, or you're gonna dig your heels in, plant your feet, and say, not today, not me, I'm coming back. Some of you've been through hell. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you lost your way. Maybe you lost someone you love, and now you're carrying that weight like it's permanent. But let me tell you, pain is part of the process, but it's not your identity. You are not what happened to you. You are not the sum of your scars. You are not your lowest moment. You are a vessel for something greater. You are a story in motion. You are still breathing. And as long as you are breathing, your purpose is still alive. Do you hear me? I said your purpose is still alive. See, every comeback begins with belief. Not the kind of belief that's loud and flashy, but the kind that's quiet, steady, unshakable. The kind that shows up when you don't feel strong. The kind that shows up when there's no evidence. That's faith. Faith is walking through fire when the water's nowhere in sight. Now listen, people gonna doubt you. That's their job. They don't see what you see. They didn't feel the fire that woke you up in the middle of the night. They don't know the nights you wept, the prayers you whispered, the wars you fought in silence. So don't you dare expect them to understand your vision. You've got to move like your future depends on it, because it does. You've got to train like the battle's tomorrow. You've got to study like the doors are opening. You've got to live like the miracle is already on its way. And when life knocks you down, and it will, you get back up, not because it's easy, but because you're called, because your comeback ain't just about you. It's about the people who will see your story and find their own strength. It's about the people who will hear your testimony and say, if they made it, so can I. So fight through the tears, fight through the doubt, fight through the loneliness, fight through the fear. Fight through the voices in your head telling you it's too late. It is not too late. Your comeback don't have an expiration date. You hear me? Destiny don't work on a clock. It works on obedience. It works on faith. It works on sacrifice. Now I know you're tired. I know you're weary, but let me remind you. Warriors don't retreat in battle. They rise. They push forward, even when the armor's cracked, even when the sword's dull. Even when the light is dim, they rise because they know the victory's not just in the winning. It's in the fight itself. Your scars, they're not shame, they're proof, they're medals. They show that you've been through something, and you didn't let it break you. You might have bent, you might have stumbled, but you didn't break, and even if you did break, that's all right too, because sometimes you gotta break to be rebuilt. Stronger, smarter, wiser. You see, you can't have a resurrection without a crucifixion. And if you've been through a season that felt like death, if you've lost something, if you've buried something, if you've mourned something, don't count yourself out. You're just in the in-between, but Sunday's common. I don't care how far you've fallen. I don't care how messy the story's been. I don't care how many people wrote you off. If you woke up this morning, you got a shot. You got a chance. You got breath in your lungs and fire in your bones. And maybe you don't know how. Maybe the how feels impossible, but the how ain't your job. The how belongs to God. Your job is to trust, to show up, to move your feet, to prepare like it's already yours. To believe like it's already done, so lace up your shoes, wipe off the dirt. Pick up your faith, stand up tall because your comeback, it starts now. Don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for the pain to vanish. Don't wait for everybody to clap. Start in the dark. Start in the silence. Start with shaky hands if you have to, but start. You don't have to be fearless to begin. You just have to be willing. Courage don't mean you ain't scared. It means you show up scared and keep moving anyway. And if you fall again, and you might, you get back up again. That's the code, that's the mindset, that's the mission, because every time you rise, every time you push back against the voice that says stay down, you build something, you build strength, you build discipline, you build character, and in the end that's what matters. Not how high you soared, but how hard you fought. Not how loud the world clapped, but how loud your soul roared when no one else heard it. Not the image you projected, but the integrity you protected. That's the real win. That's the real crown. And when it's all said and done, when the lights go off and the crowd goes home, you'll be able to look in the mirror and say, I came back, stronger, wiser, better, unshaken. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. You just forgot for a minute, but now you remember. Now go get what's yours. We all go through something. Heartbreak, failure, rejection, disappointment. Life has a way of putting weight on your shoulders when you least expect it. And in those moments, when the storm hits, when the light feels like it's fading, when the path ahead seems covered in fog, it's easy to start believing that the struggle is the whole story, that this failure, this pain, this moment of weakness, that it's the end of you, that maybe, just maybe, you weren't cut out for the dream you once believed in. But that's the lie, that's the illusion. The struggle is real, yes, but it's not your final chapter. Your struggle doesn't get the last word. Your comeback does. See, people love to label you based on your lowest point. They'll say, oh, that's the one who messed up, or that's the one who never made it, or they had potential, but they blew it. You'll hear those whispers. Sometimes they'll come from outside, sometimes they'll echo inside your own head. But you've got to understand, failure is a moment. It's not a definition. It's an experience, not your identity. You're not what you lost. You're not the job you didn't get. You're not the relationship that broke. You're not the mistake you made. You're not the time you stayed down too long. You're not what you did. You are what you choose to become after. Everybody falls. Every champion, every leader, every world changer has stumbled. But the difference between those who stay down and those who rise is the decision. The moment they say, I will not let this define me, that's where the power is. Not in never falling, but in rising again and again and again, no matter how deep the pit, no matter how dark the night. That's the real strength. That's the real measure of a person. Not how smooth the road was, but how they walked through the fire and came out the other side, scarred maybe, but not broken, changed, but not destroyed. You want to know what people remember. It's not how hard you had it. It's how hard you fought through it. It's not about the perfect resume or the picture. Perfect journey. People remember grit. They remember resilience. They remember the one who kept showing up even when the odds were stacked high. Because there's something unforgettable about the person who refuses to quit. That's the story that sticks. That's the story that inspires, and maybe right now you're in that valley, Maybe you're in that in-between space where nothing makes sense. You look around and all you see is what you've lost. Time, energy, confidence. But I promise you, there's something waiting on the other side of this storm that will make the pain worth it. That comeback version of you, the one who survived, who learned, who got wiser in the fire, that version is stronger than the one who never fell. You see, the struggle is a part of the becoming. It's the grind that sharpens the edge. You don't build strength in comfort. You don't grow courage without fear. You don't become unbreakable without first being broken. But you don't stay broken, that's the point. You rise, you repair, you rebuild. And you do it with a new kind of fire. The kind you only get when you've been through something. The kind that can't be faked, can't be taught, can't be inherited. It's earned in the trenches. Don't be ashamed of the fight. Don't be ashamed of where you've been. That journey, that bruising, that crawling. It's all part of your testimony. That's where your power lives. That's where your purpose gets refined. Because when you stand up, after being knocked flat, when you dust off the doubt, when you look fear in the face and say, I'm still here, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when your comeback becomes undeniable. And don't think for a second that your comeback has to be loud. It doesn't have to come with applause or headlines or fireworks. Sometimes the most powerful comeback is quiet. It's you waking up and trying again. It's you choosing faith over fear. It's you healing, forgiving, showing up. Even when your hands are shaking, even when your heart's still heavy, that's strength, that's courage, that's your comeback already in motion. The world might not see it yet. The people who doubted you might still be watching, waiting for you to fail again. But you're not living for their approval. You're living for something deeper, or the calling in your soul that won't let you quit. You're living for the younger version of you who dreamed, who believed, who hoped. You're living for the future version of you who's going to look back on this chapter and say, that was the turning point. That was when I stopped letting the struggle write my story. And maybe you're thinking, I've been down too long, it's too late, I missed my shot. No, you didn't. As long as there's breath in your body, as long as there's a beat in your chest, there's still time. Comebacks don't have a deadline, greatness doesn't expire, dreams don't have an age limit, it's never too late to be who you were meant to be, it's never too late to rise, you just have to decide that you're more than what hurt you, more than what broke you, more than the labels they gave you, more than the fear whispering in your ear. You're not here by accident, you're not reading this by chance. You're still standing because there's something inside of you that refuses to die. There's a warrior in your spirit, there's a fire in your belly, and even if it's just a flicker right now, it's enough. All it takes is a spark to light the way back. So walk, limp if you have to, crawl if you must. But move. Don't stay in the place where life left you bleeding. Don't let that moment of failure become your forever. The world may remember the fall, but they will never forget the rise. And when you rise, when you come back, not only will you show them who you are, you'll remind yourself of who you've always been. That's the power of the comeback. It takes everything the world said was your end and turns it into a beginning. It turns pain into power, loss into lesson, struggle into strength, and you become the proof that no matter what life throws, no matter how deep the cut, no matter how long the night, there's always a way forward. Always there's something about hitting the bottom that strips you bare. It takes away the noise, the titles, the image you built up for the world, all of it, gone in a flash, and all that's left is you. The real you, not the one that shows up for the cameras, not the one people talk about, but the one who's staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering how it all went wrong. The one who's trying to figure out how to put the pieces back together, if they even can be put back together. And in that silence, in that solitude, there are two things that stand between you and the abyss: faith and discipline. Faith is not some soft word you hang on a wall or whisper when things are easy. Faith is fire, faith is muscle, faith is steel under pressure. It's what you hold on to when everything else says let go, when the bank account's empty, when the doctor's report is grim, when the people you thought would stay leave without a word. Faith steps in where facts fall short. Faith is the voice that says, keep going. even when your legs are shaking and your soul is tired. And if you've ever truly been through something, truly felt like the world turned its back on you, you know that faith is not optional. It's survival, but faith alone isn't enough. Because faith without movement, that's just a wish. That's just hope with no hands. That's where discipline comes in. See, discipline is the bridge between belief and breakthrough. It's what you do when the feeling's gone, when motivation fades, when inspiration dries up, when nobody's cheering you on. Discipline gets up and goes to work. Discipline doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't care about convenience. It shows up every day like a soldier ready for battle. You don't build a comeback with grand gestures. You build it with repetition, with quiet, steady, often invisible work. The kind of work that doesn't get likes, the kind that nobody sees, waking up early to train, studying when it's easier to scroll, praying when all you hear is silence, saying no when it would be easier to say yes. That's discipline. That's what transforms pain into purpose. That's what separates those who wish from those who win. And let's be clear, discipline is not glamorous. It's not fun. It's not flashy. It's lonely. It's hard. It's exhausting, but it is necessary. It's the price you pay for transformation. You don't come back stronger by accident. You don't heal on hope alone. You come back because you made a choice. 1,000 tiny choices, day after day, to show up, to grind, to believe when it didn't make sense to believe anymore. Some days, faith will carry you. Some days, it won't be enough. That's when discipline picks up the slack. And on the days when discipline starts to break under the weight of routine and fatigue, faith takes the baton and says, I got you. They work together like a heartbeat, steady, consistent, pulsing through every setback and every small victory. Faith tells you what's possible. Discipline gets you there. Now, a lot of people want the rewards without the work. They want the finish line without the training. But that's not how comebacks are made. Comebacks are earned in silence, in sacrifice, in repetition. In those early mornings when your body says no and your spirit says not yet. In those lonely nights when all you've got is a promise you can't see and a fire inside you that won't let go. And that's the thing. Faith and discipline aren't separate from the struggle. They're forged in it. You don't really know faith until you've doubted everything. You don't understand discipline until it's the only thing keeping you from falling apart. They're born in pressure, grown in adversity. That's why they matter. That's why they last. The world will tell you to wait until you feel ready. Faith says move anyway. The world says do it when it's convenient. Discipline says do it because it matters. And if you can bring those two together, if you can combine belief with consistency, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can keep you from rising. It doesn't matter how long you've been down. Doesn't matter how far you've fallen. Doesn't matter what you lost or what they took. If you still have faith, and you still have discipline, then you still have everything you need. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't need the right timing. You just need to move one step, one breath, one day at a time, because the comeback isn't a moment, it's a process. It's not one big win, it's a series of small ones. It's not about waiting for the pain to go away. It's about learning how to carry it, to walk with it, to rise anyway. You fall in private, but you rise in layers. Every act of discipline, every choice to believe again, every time you say no to quitting, you rise a little more. So no, faith and discipline won't make the road easy, but they will make you stronger. They'll make you focused. They'll give you direction when you can't see the map. They'll help you fight when your fists are tired. They'll help you speak life when your mouth only wants to complain. They'll remind you who you are when the world tells you to forget. And when you finally rise, and you will rise, it won't be because the world handed you a second chance. It'll be because you built one from the ground up, with faith in your heart and discipline in your hands. It'll be because you believed before anyone else did. It'll be because you stayed committed long after the feeling was gone. That's how comebacks are made, quietly, steadily, faithfully, relentlessly. Pain comes without warning. It shows up in your life like an uninvited guest, kicks in the door and sits right down in the middle of everything. And when it does, it doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't check to see if you're ready. It just moves in, settles deep, and starts changing things. And at first you fight it. You try to push it out, ignore it, pretend it's not there. You tell yourself it's just a bad day, just a bad week, just a rough season. But when it lingers, when it stretches out longer than you expected, it starts to feel like maybe it's no longer something you're going through, maybe it's just who you are now. That's the lie pain tells. It whispers that this feeling, this weight, this wound, it's not temporary, it's forever. It tries to convince you that your brokenness is your identity. That the loss, the trauma, the failure, the betrayal, that it's not just something that happened to you, but something that defines you. And if you're not careful, you start living like that's true. You start dressing like the pain. Talking like the pain, making decisions like the pain, dreaming small, moving slow, shutting down, pulling back. You shrink, you withdraw, and you forget who you were before the hurt. But pain is not who you are. Pain is what happened. It's real, it's heavy, it's hard. But it's not permanent. It's a season, not a sentence. It's a process, not a prison. You don't owe it your life. You don't have to wear it like a name tag. You don't have to stay there, and I know some wounds go deep. Some losses cut so sharp, you feel like you'll never be the same again, and maybe you won't. But different doesn't mean destroyed. Changed doesn't mean canceled. Broken doesn't mean buried. There's purpose in the process, even when you can't see it. Even when it hurts too much to believe it. Growth doesn't happen in the sunshine alone. It happens in the storm. In the silence, in the spaces where you feel forgotten, overlooked, misunderstood. That's where something starts to shift. That's where healing starts. Slow, quiet, deep, because pain pulls you apart, but it also reveals what needs rebuilding. It shows you the cracks, the weak spots, the unhealed places you've been ignoring. And that's not to punish you. That's to prepare you, to shape you, to refine you. The truth is, some of your greatest wisdom, your greatest strength, your greatest clarity will come from your darkest days. Not because the pain made you great, but because you let it teach you something. You didn't numb it. You didn't run from it. You didn't let it break you. You faced it. You sat in it. You wrestled with it. And through that process, something in you got stronger. Something in you started to come alive again. You see, when pain hits, you have a choice. You can become bitter or you can become better. You can let it harden your heart or you can let it open your eyes. You can use it as an excuse to quit or as a reason to keep going. Because when you stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as preparation, everything changes. That doesn't mean it stops hurting. But it means the hurt has meaning. It means you can walk through the fire and come out refined instead of ruined. And don't let anybody rush your healing. This world moves fast. It tells you to get over it. Move on, keep it together, but healing isn't on a timer. Grief has no clock. Transformation doesn't follow a calendar. This isn't about pretending you're okay when you're not. It's about giving yourself permission to feel, to process, to work through it one moment at a time. And in that space where you're honest with your pain, that's where the breakthrough begins. See, the comeback doesn't start when the pain stops. It starts when you choose to keep moving in spite of it. When you choose not to let what happened to you dictate what happens next. When you choose to take the pain, the confusion, the tears, and turn them into fuel, to say, this will not be the end of my story. This will not be the final word on my life. Because even in pain, there's power. Even in suffering, there's strength. Even in loss, there's love left. The process of pain strips away what's fake. It burns off what's shallow. It leaves you with what's real. You find out who you are when there's nothing left to hold on to but your faith, your breath, and your will to rise. You find out what matters. You stop chasing the noise, and you start listening to the still, small voice inside that's been waiting for you to get quiet enough to hear it. And maybe you've cried. Maybe you've broken down in places no one else will ever know about. Maybe you've screamed into your pillow, doubted everything, questioned why, begged for a break. That's okay. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you human. That makes you alive. And even in those low moments, even in the pain, something was growing. Maybe you couldn't see it yet, but the roots were going deep. The foundation was getting stronger. You were becoming someone new, someone wiser, someone braver, someone more grounded. Pain doesn't get to name you. It doesn't get to hold the pen. It doesn't get to write your future. What happened to you may have shaped your path, but it doesn't get to define your purpose. That's still yours. That's still waiting. And maybe the journey back is long. Maybe it's slow. Maybe some days you feel like you're crawling. That's all right. Progress is still progress. Healing doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to be real. You're not meant to stay in the place where pain left you. You're meant to grow through it, rise through it, transform through it. And when you come out the other side, not only will you be strong, you'll be more compassionate, more empathetic, more whole, because pain carves space in you to carry more, to carry purpose, to carry hope, to carry the weight of someone else's story and say, I've been there too, and I made it out. And that's where your testimony begins. Not when everything's perfect, but when you've seen the worst and still chosen to believe in the best. When you've walked through the valley and still found a reason to lift your head. When the process of pain gave birth to the version of you that couldn't have existed any other way. The one who knows their worth, who walks in truth, who stands in purpose, not in spite of the pain, but because of how they came through it. Most people think of a comeback as a personal thing, a private win. A redemption arc meant only for the one who lived through the fall, but that's only part of the picture. What most people miss is this: your comeback is never just about you. It's not just about proving something to yourself. It's not just about restoring your name, your dream, your sense of self. No, it runs deeper than that. When you rise, when you push through the darkness, when you claw your way out of the valley, that climb becomes light for somebody else. You might not even see it. You might be too focused on your own battle, your own pain, your own climb. But while you're fighting, someone's watching, someone's struggling too. Someone's asking if they're strong enough to get through it. And then they see you, they see your scars, they hear your story. They witness your resilience and something clicks. Suddenly they don't feel alone. Suddenly the weight they've been carrying doesn't seem so unbearable. Not because the load is lighter, but because they saw you carry yours, and that changes everything. That's the truth we don't talk about enough. Your healing has power beyond your own life. Your growth, your persistence, your refusal to quit. It all becomes a blueprint for others to follow. Your story becomes a roadmap for those who are lost in their own wilderness. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about pretending you had it all figured out. It's about being real, about saying, yeah, I fell, I broke, I doubted, but I didn't stay there. That kind of honesty, that kind of strength, it breathes life into others. It opens doors for healing. Think about it. How many times have you drawn strength from someone else's story? Maybe you read about someone who overcame cancer, or someone who got clean after years of addiction, or someone who was betrayed, abandoned, humiliated, and still stood back up. That did something to you. It planted a seed, gave you a reason to believe. And now, whether you realize it or not, your story carries the same weight. You don't have to be famous for your comeback to matter. You don't have to have a platform, a microphone, a stage. All you have to do is live it. Walk it, own it. There's someone watching you right now. Could be a friend, could be your child, could be a coworker, a neighbor, someone who sees how you carry yourself in the face of adversity. And they're taking notes, not on your success, but on your struggle, on your endurance, on the way you keep showing up. That's what people remember. And here's the beauty of it. You don't have to have the ending figured out to be inspiring. Just your decision to keep going is enough. Just your choice to stand up when everything in you wants to lie down. That speaks, that leads, that empowers others to say, if they can, maybe I can too. Your very presence in the fight is permission for someone else to keep fighting. That's why the comeback matters so much, because when you rise, you're pulling others up with you. You're saying, without even speaking, this doesn't have to be the end. That message, that quiet act of courage, That's how change spreads. That's how light travels, not always in bold declarations, but in the steady, daily choice to keep moving forward. And it's not just about the people close to you. It's about the ones you may never meet. The ones who hear your story months or years later. The ones who find your words, your testimony, your truth. And it hits them in just the right way, at just the right time. It lifts them, maybe even saves them. You may never know the full impact of your resilience, but I promise you, it matters, it echoes, it multiplies. That's why you can't give up. That's why quitting isn't an option. Because your life is connected to lives you haven't even touched yet. You don't know who's hanging on by a thread. You don't know who's looking for a sign to keep going. And when they see you rise, not flawless, not untouched by pain, but real, scarred, and still standing, that becomes the sign. See, we live in a world that celebrates highlight reels. The polished, the perfect, the filtered. But what people are hungry for is authenticity. They want to know that comebacks are possible in real life. Not just in movies, not just on magazine covers. They want to know that people like them. People who have been through hell. People who have failed. People who have doubted themselves. Can still rise. You've got that proof. You've got that power. Not because you've never struggled, but because you have. And you're still here, and that in itself is enough. You don't have to say a word. Just your presence in the room after everything you've endured speaks volumes. Just your energy, your spirit, your willingness to keep loving, to keep trying, to keep believing. That's leadership. That's legacy, and the most powerful thing. It's not even about preaching. It's about living. People believe what they see. You can say all the right words, but when they see you embody it, when they see you live through loss, live through failure, live through disappointment, and still keep your head up, that's what they remember. That's what changes them. That's what makes them believe they can do the same. And don't think you have to be all the way healed to be a light. Sometimes the most powerful encouragement comes from someone who's still in the middle of their comeback. Still bleeding, still limping, but walking anyway. That kind of courage, that kind of honesty, shows others that it's okay to not have it all together, that healing is messy. That strength doesn't mean being invincible. It means being faithful. It means being willing. So if you're in the fight, stay in it. If you're rebuilding, keep going. If you're rising, even slowly, even painfully, keep rising, because someone needs your story. Someone needs your voice. Someone is waiting to see what it looks like to come back from what you came back from. And when you get to the other side, and you will, don't be surprised if someone comes to you and says, "You don't even know what your journey meant to me. You don't even know how your story gave me strength." That's when you realize the comeback was never just about you. It was bigger, it was broader, it was generational. You were walking not just for yourself, but for everyone who didn't yet believe they could walk too. You were leading the way, even when you didn't know it. Even when you felt lost. You were lighting a path that others would one day follow. That's the power of your rise. That's the weight of your comeback. And whether you see it today or not, you are doing more than surviving. You are inspiring. And that, all by itself, is a victory